Bang on Friday, Dr. Too Sweet came out victorious over Queen Neftali. Then we had a powerful one last night between our brother, the returning brother, A1, the Bible breaker versus the biblical barbarian, Hemi. And tonight we back at it again with two powerful brothers putting down their demonstration. Before they get into their spiel, y'all know I got to do my spiel. Let me say God bless to all my Christian brothers and sisters. Hotep to all my Kemetic brothers and sisters. Shalom to all my Israelite brothers and sisters. Let me say Islam to all my Moorish brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum to all my brothers and sisters in the NOI. Peace to all my brothers and sisters in the nation of gods and earth, them 5%ers. Let me say what's up to all my atheist brothers and sisters. Let me say shout out to all my Naga brothers and sisters. Big what up to all my Abo brothers and sisters. Salute to all my Rasta brothers and sisters. Last and certainly not least, let me say Jumbo to all the rest of my brothers and sisters all throughout the African diaspora, be it here in the wilderness of the United States of America or beyond. Y'all know I say that greeting for one reason and one reason only. It's because if you Black, I'm with you. And I hope you with me. Our different ideologies should not keep us from uniting. We can have unity without uniformity. And we can disagree without being disrespectfully disagreeable. Cream gonna rise to the top, y'all. So we're gonna work these ideologies things out. In the meantime, we're gonna edutain you with these debates right here on Paradigm Shift TV 314, the Versus series, the Bar Reloaded, and Super Wavy. Y'all make sure y'all support all three of our channels. That being said, gentlemen, please allow me to allow you to reintroduce yourselves first and not foremost, because I don't want to put nobody over nobody, but first, brother Haru Consciousness, please introduce yourself to the Paradigm Shift TV 314 family.
Hey, yo, peace. I am Haru Conscious. I'm the founder of the Heavy Hitters Debate League. Absolutely the tribe of Naga. Also Ampu Crew. This is all my family. I've been out for a while. Had some things going on, but today y'all gonna get to see the scholarship that I actually bring. So I'm not gonna say too much more. I'm gonna let this brother go ahead and have the flow.
All right, so y'all heard the brother. Ain't no more breaks from Haru Consciousness. The brother is back, and he right here on Paradigm Shift TV 314 in the Versus series. That being said, we got a Versus series problem in the building. He say he a problem for everybody. He want the smoke with everybody. Bosco the Truth Hoover. Reintroduce yourself to the family.
I think you just did an excellent job doing so, but this is Bosco Malik Asai Hoover, aka The Truth.
And there it is, family. So y'all know how this works here in the Versus series. We get a 3-minute opening for each brothers. Then we get 2 10-minute rounds. One to lay down their demonstration, a second one to rebut their opponent or continue to build on their argument. A lot of people like to do both. Then we get to everybody's favorite part of the Versus series, the chin check session, where each brother will ask their opponent as many questions as they possibly can within that 10-minute time frame. The other party's job is to answer the person who is asking the question. No trying to re-debate the debate that they just had. Just simply ask the questions. Now, human nature often takes over and we start getting the back and forth. That's fine. It is the person asking the questions time. So it is up to them to handle that interaction and either go to the next question or to try to press their opponent on answering their question. If it gets too stagnant, as the moderator, I will step in, but each individual will have up to 3 opportunities to stop their time. Once those 3 opportunities are gone, time will continue. That being said, it is their time to manage. So keep that in mind, both participants. Then we will have a 3-minute closeout where they summarize their thoughts on what just occurred. And then we'll let some of y'all up to either make a statement or ask one question and get one response from each brother, and then see your way out. That being said, shout out to everybody in the chat. I see Sage the Savage. I see Timotheus Kales. I see my brother Michael Everett, the world heavyweight champion of the Versus series, the undisputed, undefeated, distinguished champ, Pandemic.
The champ is here!
Shout out to the best champ in the business. I see Michelle Turner, if I ain't already say that, the Bar Reloaded in the building. Shout out to Mel, becoming a channel member. Everybody in the building, we appreciate y'all being with us. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. Shout out to you. Also, go back and forth and check out what my boy Super Wavy doing. And like I said, subscribe to the Bar Reloaded, subscribe to Super Wavy, and keep supporting us over here. That being said, I believe Bosco is going first when we kick off the round portion. So, Haru, I'm going to let you go first as it relates to this 3-minute opening. Time will start when you start, bro.
All right, peace. So I'm not going to even waste no time bringing up slides just yet, because I got plenty of them coming. But check this out, man. Let's be clear here. This is not a debate about beliefs. It's about facts. And facts do not support the idea that so-called 3 races of man, Negroid, Caucasoid, or Mongoloid, descended from 3 sons of Noah. I mean, there's zero archaeological, geological, or even genetic evidence of a global flood. No civilization from the Egyptians to the Sumerians recorded such a catastrophe. I'm gonna be honest with you, man, family. Noah is a mythological figure adapted from earlier Mesopotamian stories, like the Epic of Gilgamesh. Not a historical person. So another thing that we're gonna hit on is that race is absolutely a social construct, not a scientific category. The concept of 3 biological races was invented in the 18th century to justify colonialism and slavery, not based on science. Modern genetics has dismantled that. All humans share 99.9% of the same DNA. Differences are superficial from form gradual patterns across populations, not distinct racial lines. Another point I'm going to hit you upside the head with tonight, brother, is you cannot assign haplogroup to mythical people. Haplogroups are scientific tools for tracking genetic lineage, not labels you could just slap on characters from ancient literature. You can't trace modern DNA back to fictional people. That's not science. That's what you call fan fiction. So what I'm going to tell you here tonight, brother, when you remove the global flood, Noah disappears. When Noah disappears, so does his sons. And without those 3 sons, the entire argument collapses. This is not a debate about ancestry. It's a case of study and why evidence matters. And this is what you want to avoid by deflecting, saying, well, it doesn't matter if they actually existed. And I'm going to land my plane right there, DMG.
All right, with 36 seconds to spare, Haru Consciousness is yielding the rest of his time. Let's reset it for our brother Bosco. Bosco, time will start when you start.
Okay, first of all, I wanted to thank Paradigm Shift 314 for the opportunity. I want to thank the judges for taking the time out to weigh these arguments and counter arguments. I want to thank my opponent for accepting the challenge. I think it's going to be very challenging, despite all that he just mentioned, and I will show you why later. And I want to thank the audience as well. At the end of the day, whoever's declared the winner here, I hope that you are the winner, that you're entertained, educated, informed at the end of the day. What I'm going to be doing today simply is I'm going to be using the names of nations, some mapping, even those what he mentioned, outdated scientific terms, to show a link or connection between the three sons of Noah and, as he mentioned, those three races of men. And at the end of the day, when this is over, I'm quite sure that I would have painted a perfect picture.
All right. Right. And you have 2 minutes left. You want to yield the rest of that?
Yes, sir. I'm good.
All right. So I'm going to set the clock for our 10-minute mark. And let me make sure y'all presentations did download so I can bring those up. Let's see. Give me 1 second. All right. Okay. Let's see. All right. That's Bosco's here. Open this up so I can get that shared for the brother. Y'all bear with me. Bosco, this is yours where the first one says patterns of evidence, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me get that shared and then we'll get into your presentation. All right. And you just let me know when you want me to go to the next slide.
Will do.
And audience, let me know how this presentation looks on screen. Can y'all see it? Does everything look copacetic, etc.? Let's make sure the slides are changing and all that good stuff. So, all right, I just moved to the second slide. Did everybody see that? Did that change?
Yes, sir. It did.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go back to the first one. I just wanted to make sure because some people have been having some issues. So, all right, man, time will start when you start. If at any time we find out that the slides are not changing, I'm gonna stop your time and we're gonna try to get that together. But in the meantime, time will start when you start.
All right. As you can see, I titled this presentation "Patterns of Evidence: Connecting the Dots." And as I mentioned earlier, what I'm going to be doing today is using the names of nations, locations, mapping, science, including some of those outdated scientific terms, all in the effort to show a connection or link between the three sons of Noah and the three races of man. I would like to clarify before I start. And before my opponent uses a definist fallacy, as he has already done, to confuse what a myth is and what it is not. And if you can go to that next slide, a myth, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, is an ancient story or set of stories, especially explaining the early history of a people or about natural events or facts. Next slide. Next slide, please. What it is not, it's not fiction. Fiction is the type of book or story that has been written about imaginary characters and events and not based on real people or facts. Next slide. It is also not a fairy tale. A fairy tale is a traditional story written for children that usually involves imaginary creatures and magic. In fact, myths can be true. If you research, you will find some have been. But anyway, the man of legend or myth that I'll begin this presentation about is Ham. He is said to have four sons from who descended a number of nations of people, many of whom are found throughout history. And you can go to the next slide. Those would be of Ham, the Canaanites, the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, and I believe there's Put, which historians and biblical scholars believe are the Libyans, and that not only where the Libyans were located, but over into Morocco, and also the land of Punt, which we'll talk about later. And I want you to note this: only in the Bible will you find it recorded that these nations have the same Father. That's important for what I get into later. But you can go to the next slide. Now, if you're familiar with locations, you have some common knowledge of geography. You know where the Egyptians were located, and I wanted to give a description because that will come into play later too. Herodotus writes that it is certain that the natives of the country Egypt are black with the heat. And at another time, he describes them when he's describing another nation of people. He says that he believes they are Egyptian for, and I quote, the fact that they were black skinned and have woolly hair. And you can go to the next slide. The Ethiopians, of course, the Ethiopians, you know where that's located, Abyssinia, and that extended, but I don't want to get into that. Aristotle says of them that the Ethiopians and Egyptians are very dark. And then you can go to the next slide. Now this is Put. I think that's how you say it. Keep in mind, I may not have that pronunciation correct. But anyway, that's referring, like I said, historians and biblical scholars believe is referring to the Libyans and their land extended from Libya, present day Libya, all the way to Morocco, and also the land of Punt. That's where you will find Eritrea. I think that's how you say it. Somalia and also Sudan. E.A. Wallace Budd stated that Egyptian tradition of the dynastic period held that the aboriginal home of the Egyptians was in Punt. And this, what I'm showing you there is just a depiction in Egypt of those, of the people of Punt. And you can go to the next slide. Nah, you can read that one. I actually didn't write that myself, so write it down so I can't repeat what it said there. But anyway, it gives another description of the people of Punt being, or Libya, sorry, the Libyans being black. And then you can go to the next slide. And then we get to the Canaanites. And when we get to the Canaanites, we're going to focus on the Hittites, the Jebusites, and the Amorites. Doing so because, as I note there, there is not much information on the other nations of the Canaanites. And you can go to the next slide. All right, the Hittites, and this is in the Encyclopedia Britannica. The Hittites, as it says there, were a member of an ancient European people who appeared in Anatolia in the beginning, blah blah blah, whatever it says there. Anyway,
5 minutes.
you
Five
can go.
minutes.
You can go to the next one. This shows a mapping of where Indo-European languages are spoken. And so I didn't want people to get it confused where they're going to say Indo-European could mean this, that. No, it's actually talking about Europeans. You can go to the next slide. This is in rabbinical literature. It says the Jebusites were identical to the Hittites. So again, we're talking about European people. And if you go to the next slide, these are the Amorites. Although they were a Semitic speaking people, this depiction in Egypt shows them as being what I would call Indo-European. And so what is the point of all this? And you can go to the next slide. This next slide here, it actually divides the three races. And if you look at this green, that light green and the other green, and it gets darker as it goes around, you see Egypt, Ethiopia, all of that right there. That all of those aforementioned nations are here classified on this map as being Caucasoid. And that's at the exclusion of all other people, all of those nations I just mentioned. And if you go to the next slide, Caucasoid, a lot of people have this wrong, but in biological anthropology, Caucasoid has been used as an umbrella term for phenotypically similar groups from these different regions, with a focus on skeletal anatomy and especially craniomorphology. Without regard to skin tone, ancient and modern Caucasoid populations were thus not exclusively white, but ranged from white skin to dark brown. Go to the next slide. Again, I'm just showing Indo-Europeans, and you can go to the next slide. This here is what's called a mapping of Y-DNA haplogroup E1B1B. That's this haplogroup. If you notice on this here, showing the Y-DNA haplogroup, it's the same location as I just showed you on the mapping of where those people would be. And even in those other areas in Europe where you see it's not showing the color, I actually, if you go to the next slide, I just wanted to mention this. Y-DNA, the DNA of the Y chromosome, is inherited nearly unchanged, father to son, meaning it can be traced back through generations indefinitely. So at some point in time, these people have the same father, period. And if you go to the next slide, I wanted to show you this here. You can look this up yourself. Like I said, in some areas you'll see where you didn't see the coloring for the haplogroup, but if you actually look at it, look up Y-DNA E1B1B in Europe, you will.
Hey, bro, I paused the time at 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Reason being, I wasn't sure if the slide changed to where you needed it to be.
It did not. You can change it to the end. The next one after this, I'm done. That's just somewhere where people can go and look at, like I was mentioning, Y-DNA haplogroup E1B1B in Europe. You will find that they all have it, even if it's 0 to 2%. But it doesn't show on that mapping that I showed, but they all belong to E1B1B as the Y-DNA haplogroup. And that was that's the end of my presentation, my first presentation.
Okay. Let me stop the share. You do have 1 minute, 45 seconds left. You want to expound on anything?
No, sir. I was done there.
All right. Time will stop at 1 minute, 39 seconds. We're going to reset it for 10 minutes. We're going to give it over to our brother, Haru Consciousness. Let me get his presentation up. And brother, time will start when you start. I want to do the same thing we did for our brother Bosco and make sure your slides are changing. So let me know if this screen changes.
Yeah, it's working good.
Okay, all right. And I'm gonna go back to the.
If it's hold on, if it's okay with you, I'm just gonna say next slide, and you click.
Okay, well, time starts, and let's go.
Hold on 1 second. So we had no problems.
Okay. Time is paused at 9 minutes and 50 seconds. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm coming, bro. My wife getting the baby now.
No, you good, man. Family first. Everybody that's listening, if they don't know we human, then they at the wrong place.
Right. she brought him in the room with her. You know what I'm saying? So she got the dog. We got no problems. Let's go and get going.
All right, time will resume at 9 minutes 50 seconds.
All right.
Let me know when to change.
Let's go. Haplogroups didn't exist in Bronze Age mythology. See, family, you got to understand what he's trying to do here. Haplogroups like E1B1A, J1, R1B, etc., are modern day classifications of ancient genetic lineages developed from recent advantages in DNA analysis, not categories from the Bible or any ancient source. There is absolutely no scientific model that supports dividing humanity into 3 biological races. That's a 19th century social construct, not biology. So I have to ask my opponent today, and y'all may ask him that too later on. What lab tested the DNA of Ham, Shem, and Japheth. I know he want to wiggle up out of that one. Next slide, please. But guess what? This is how I'm going to hit him. The Table of Nations is a theological myth, not genetics. Genesis 10 was written to explain the known world through a family tree metaphor, not scientific record. These divisions were based upon ethno-linguistic assumptions of ancient Israel, not actual ancestry. Your confusion, actually, brother, mythological ideology with molecular anthropology. One is faith-based origin story. That's what it's of. And the other is database science. Next slide, please. Even if Ham, Shem, and Japheth were real, their alleged descendants spread over the continents for thousands of years. Intermarriage, conquest, migration, cultural exchange would have been made direct haplogroup inheritance untraceable. You can't just map a straight line from a mythological figure to modern haplogroup, to a modern haplogroup in the world shaped by 10,000s migrations and mixing. Next slide, please. Trying to map Shem to haplogroup J or Ham to E1B1A is just like inserting modern science into ancient texts, giving them a fake legitimacy. You're using modern genetic terms to backdate a theological story written by people who thought the earth had four corners. Next slide, please. Listen, brother, here's your scientific reality check. This is where it's about to get real. The so-called descendants of Ham, Canaanites, Egyptians, Ethiopians, and Libyans do not all share the same Y DNA haplogroup. Ancient Egyptians carried multiple haplogroups, E, J, R, T, and H, depending on the region and time period. Ethiopians have the high rate of E1B1B, not E1B1A, and significant Eurasian admixture. Libyans, which you would call North Africans today, often carry J1, EM81, or R1B. The Canaanites the Canaanites, right? Based on ancient DNA from Sidon, were genetically similar to Levantine populations carrying haplogroup J more than E. Next slide, please. Outdated racial categories, my brother. My opponent today is using 18th and 19th century racial terms, Negroid, Caucasoid, Mongoloid, that modern science has fully debunked. These are not biological realities. These are colonial era constructs created to justify slavery, colonization, and white supremacy. The Human Genome Project confirmed that there is no genetic basis for dividing humanity into these categories. All humans are 99.9 genetically identical. Next slide, please. Connecting the names and the region mentioned in the Bible to DNA evidence.
5 minutes, 5 minutes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Evidence today is called confirmation bias. You're starting with a belief. Then you're trying to cherry pick facts to support it. This is completely ignoring everything that contradicts it. Next slide, please. Haplogroups evolved over 10,000s of years, long before any of the Noah narrative. When you're looking at haplogroups like E1B1A, R1B, J, etc., are genetic lineages passed down through check this out, passed down on Y chromosome. The earliest splits in human Y DNA, like haplogroup A and B, go back 200,000 plus years. And many modern haplogroups didn't even exist until long after this time. So the biblical claims that Noah lived 5,000 years ago, that completely demolishes the idea of Ham, Shem, and Japheth could be the source of all races and their distinct haplogroups. Next slide, please, brother. Haplogroups do not follow race. Modern genetics has shown that so-called races are social constructs, not fixed biological divisions. You'll find multiple haplogroups in each ethnic group. For example, many African males have E haplogroups like E1B1A, but some carry R1B, which is common in Europe. Many Arabs have J1, but that's also found in Jews, some Berbers, and even pockets in Ethiopia. So my opponent tonight can't claim that Ham's kids had all one haplogroup is biologically impossible. Next slide, please. Haplogroups mutate at a predictable rate. These changes all allow geneticists to date when lineage is split. For example, the split between E and D, African and Asian haplogroups, happened more than 50,000 years ago. Haplogroup R1b, common in Europe until around 18,000 years ago. So unless Bosco was saying that Noah lived about 50,000 plus years ago, this haplogroup argument collapses right now. Next slide, please. Haplogroups traced from genetic lineages go back to 200,000 years ago, not 4,000 years ago. For example, haplogroup A00 is only found in African population.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Thank you, brother. Look, you guys see the sources that I'm dropping here. The moral to the story is that modern humans carry haplogroups like E1B1A, R1B, J1, and more, which across geographic regions are not limited to race-based assignments. Next slide. The Table of Nations was written by Hebrew scribes as a geopolitical document, not a genealogical chart. Canaanites, Hittites, and others listed based on who the Hebrews interacted with, not on DNA. The Hittites, for example, were Indo-Europeans and Anatolia, not Hamites. The source on that one is Bryce, The Kingdom of the Hittites, 2005. I'm going to land my plane right there. You about to get it.
All right, you have 50 seconds left. You want to elaborate on anything else, or you want to go ahead and turn it back over?
I'm going to let him go ahead and rock.
All right, resetting it for...
He about to get it.
All right, we're going to reset it for 10 minutes for Bosco's second round. Let me unshare our Brother Haru Consciousness presentation and bring Bosco's back up. This been a banger of a first round. I see the comments. These brothers is bringing the heat. We got Bosco presentation back up. Bosco, time will start when you start, brother.
Admittedly, I'm not very eloquent, as most of you probably have noticed, nor am I one to use pompous words. I find that such words in the mouths of many is the equivalent of putting a dress and a tiara on a pig and calling it the Queen of England. That's what my opponent has done, with all due respect. He gave us a 10-minute presentation filled with fallacies, style over substance, embellishing an argument with compelling language, exploiting the bias towards the aesthetic qualities of an argument. What he wants you to do, he's appealing to emotion. He wants you to use emotions over valid reasoning. His entire presentation was an argument from fallacy. The assumption that if a particular argument for a conclusion is fallacious, then the conclusion by itself is false. Hence, he focuses on race being outdated. He mentioned Noah myth and all of this, although I simply draw the conclusion that the descendants of Ham, as recorded in Genesis 10, based on the mapping that I've shown, would have been listed and classified as Caucasoid at the exclusion of all other people, and that they all belong to DNA haplogroup E1B1B. And that's shown by the genetic mapping. That is still a true statement. So, and then he mentions all of those other things. And the way he persists to use the word myth, that's also a fallacy. It's called persuasive definition. He's using a commonly accepted term, while in reality, it's altered. As a matter of fact, if you look at Merriam-Webster, you will find that the way that we today use the term myth is very recent. Myth did not mean like it's a lie or it's fiction or false or anything like that. It just meant that it was an ancient or old legend story from people a long time ago. And although we may not see it now, and maybe it's something that we don't believe now, did not necessarily mean that the people who wrote it at that time did not believe it was true. Whether they were explaining things that, in the best way that they could, and they, however it went. Anyway, that's what he did. And then he continued on with other fallacies, red herrings. Logical error when irrelevant or misleading information is introduced to distract from the main argument. He made arguments, he pointed to things that I didn't even mention in here. He mentioned time. Well, if the time was here, then the time was over there, then it couldn't be. I never mentioned anything about time. And at the end of the day, I simply draw the conclusion that the descendants of Ham, as recorded in Genesis chapter 10, based on the mapping, will be classified as Caucasoid at the exclusion of all others, and all belong, as shown by genetic mapping, to E1B1B. That is still a true statement, regardless of anything that he said. So I'll just that's all I got to say about that right now. I can get into that later, but I'll continue with my presentation. Here you see haplogroup DE. DE is the ancestor of E1B1B. There is also, and this is, it says DE is unique because it is distributed in several geographically distinct clusters. And you'll see haplogroup D. Haplogroup D is found mainly in East Asia, parts of Central Asia, and the Andaman Islands, I believe that's how you say it. And you can go to the next slide. It says in Genesis 10, it talks about, the sons of, I don't know if you say Japheth or Japheth or however you say it. It talks about his descendants. And then it says in Genesis 10:5 that by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands. Isles mean islands. And a lot of people argue that fact. If you go to the next slide, in the topical encyclopedia, it says in biblical, next slide, sir. In biblical terminology, the term isle or island. Can you hear me, DMG?
I stopped your time, Bosco. For some reason, it's okay. There it is. There it is. Never mind.
Okay.
Hold up. And now I went back. Let me go. Hold on. Hold on. Let me get you right. Okay, there we go.
Okay, there.
It was just, for some reason, it was just spinning. Okay, time starts at 5 minutes and 43 seconds.
In the topical encyclopedia, in biblical terminology, the term isle or island is often used to describe a landmass surrounded by water. I've researched, studied the Bible. There is no reference. I would challenge anyone to show me a reference to anything other than an island in the Bible. And you can go to the next slide. This is a map, another genetic map of haplogroup D. And this, you can see where it's located, Andaman Islands, Indonesia, even the Philippines, right? This is where this genetic mapping is showing you the the D haplogroup is located. And I wanted to show this. If you go to the next slide, these are people, indigenous people, of the Andaman Islands who only came into contact with people maybe in the last 200 years. These are actually the indigenous people. You can go to the next slide. The indigenous people of the Andaman Islands. Go ahead. And one more time. These are the indigenous people of the Andaman Islands. These people, if you go to the next slide, again, we're going back to show the races. Again, with the mapping, with D, which comes from haplogroup DE, where you get E1B1B. This is D, which also comes from DE. And you look at the mapping, again, it shows that these people are listed as Mongoloids at the exclusion of all other people. So we can make the assumption, because it talks about them going to the islands, those islands there, right? We can make the assumption or the connection that Japheth is the haplogroup D in Mongoloid. And so by the process of elimination, that only leaves the descendants of one man unaccounted for. That is Shem, right? And if we revisit the DE haplogroup, we'll find that DE splits into D, which went there, East Asia, the islands, etc. Right? And then you had E, and E actually divides into two groups. One being E1B1B, which I mentioned earlier, which we show on the map as Caucasoid. That leaves E1B1A. That's the brown that you see. Those are Negroid. So you have Shem as E1B1A, or the Negroid race, as you can see as the mapping. And if you go to the next slide, I'm sorry, go to the next one. That there is E1B1A. So, like I said, it's a perfect picture. I can put on top. I could put the race that as they defined them at that time, and I can take the E. And keep in mind, he mentioned that E1B1. I mean, the haplogroups came later. That's what makes it so interesting. That's what makes it so interesting that they actually had the mapping of the races before they even had the DNA, the genetics. So they had the map of the races and they divided them. And now later we have a genetic mapping that we can put on top of their races as they defined them, and determine who exactly was who. And if you can see that, I already showed you. You know how I did it was I started with Ham, because I had all of the names of the nations, and I'm just gonna end it right there. I'm gonna end it right there.
Okay, brother, you got 1 minute 37 seconds left. You can elaborate on whatever you want to.
I think I'm good, man. I'm good.
All right. And family, I'm having a little bit of issues, which the brothers already know. I explained that I'm for those who are in St. Louis, I'm in O'Fallon, and we got a tornado and a flash flood warning out here. And so if I drop off or if I start having connection issues, my bros, the Craigs, know, particularly Ratchet Craig, know to jump on and take over for me just in case I lose power. That being said, Bosco, I apologize for when my screen froze up and I couldn't hit that next slide.
You
But
good?
I did start. All right. And that being said, let me get Haru's consciousness presentation up. And brother, your time will start back when you start. Let me know if that is the correct slide we left off on. And if you need me to move it to the correct slide, let me know.
Okay, yeah. Let's go to the next slide.
All right. 1 second.
This one's about to get bad for you, Bosco.
Time starts.
Okay, go ahead some more, because we passed this slide already too. Go ahead, pass this one. We'll pass this one because now I'm about to start citing all sources. Next one. Next one. Here we go. All right.
All right. Time. Oh, no, go ahead. Time starts.
All right. So here we go. See, family, y'all see this and y'all can witness this for yourself. What he's using is called a false cause fallacy, assuming correlation based on a narrative. He's leaning on an argument from ignorance, saying you can't prove it didn't happen. It's not evidence that it did. So if someone claims that claims to link a race to a biblical figure, the burden on proof is them. He now needs to really show us the DNA of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Show the lineage, show the graves, show the carbon dates. Next slide, please. Humans don't split into three races. We share 99.9% of our DNA. This kills racism right here with the real understanding of basic biology. But here's my sources. The Human Genome Project, 2003. Migrations are gradual and complex. Out of the Africa model, shows human spread from East Africa around 70,000 years ago. My source is Stringer, Nature Magazine, 2002. Biblical timelines don't match scientific ones. Global flood dated around 2348 BCE by biblical literates. But human civilizations in Egypt, Mesopotamia, and in China were already thriving. The idea that Hamitic people were cursed or inferior was used to justify slavery. Refute that pseudo history by tracing its roots to the 18th and 19th century racism. My source is David Goldenberg, Curse of Ham, Princeton Press. You should get that read. Very interesting and very informative. Next slide, please. Look, not enough water exists on the earth. Let me get into this, brother, because you didn't want me to. And it's a reason, it's a deflection. There's simply not enough water on earth to cover every mountain, including Mount Everest, which is 8,848 meters or 29,000 feet high. To submerge Mount Everest, Earth would need 3 times the volume of all water currently in oceans, lakes, ice caps, and the atmosphere combined. Here's my source, though, brother. You can look it up, and we all can. This is the U.S. Geology Survey. Next slide, please. No geological evidence of a global flood. Geologists study sediment layers around the world. A worldwide flood would leave consistent signs of sudden deposition, marine fossils all over the land, etc. That doesn't exist. Sedimentary layers show millions of years of slow deposition, erosion, and environmental change, not a catastrophic global flood 4,000 years ago. My source is from the National Center for Science Education. Next slide, please. Ancient civilizations was unaffected. Wait a minute. It was a worldwide flood. You mean these people here? Cultures like Egyptians, Sumerians, Chinese, they had continuous written records to show no break for a worldwide catastrophe. Ancient old Egypt. Let me say this here. Ancient Egypt's old kingdom was thriving during the alleged time of Noah's flood, which was 2400 to 2300 BCE. No record of mass extinction, no displacement, no global rebuilding. If a global flood wiped out all life, these civilizations would not exist. Or at the very least, they would mention such event. My source is Wilkerson, The Rise and Fall of Ancient Egypt. You should get that book as well. Let's move to the next source. Okay, biological impossibilities, brother. Over 8.7 million species on Earth, Noah couldn't fit even a fraction.
5 minutes.
Okay, species require a very specific ecosystem: polar bears, desert reptiles, fresh fish, etc. Post-flood, how did kangaroos get back to Australia without leaving a single trace of fossils anywhere? Genetic bottlenecks. If only 2 of these species survive, we would see severe genetic bottlenecks, but we don't. We do not see that. Genetic diversity today tells us that life went through such a reason. It never went through such a recent bottleneck, bro. My source is National Geographic. This is Tishoff. All right. This next slide, please. Physics and logistics. Rainfall at necessity volume to cover mountains in 40 days. It will require rain to rain at over 6 inches per minute globally. This is globally physically impossible. Fresh water and salt water would mix, killing most aquatic life. Waste management for thousands of animals for a year. There was no system in place. Now you tell me, you asked this question in the chat. I hope you answer this. How do you account for aquatic, fresh water and salt water intermixing? How did those fish survive? Some of them can't. Next slide, please. The Noah flood myth is based on earlier Sumerian stories like the Epic of Gilgamesh, which was symbolic and not historical. The Hebrews borrowed and reshaped these flood stories. My source is Finkelstein and Silberman, the Bible Unearthed. You should get that book as well. And trust me, listen to what I'm saying. A worldwide flood is scientifically, geologically, genetically, logistically, and historically impossible. Next slide, please. We're gonna end it there. I'm gonna land my plane. You about to get fucked up. Excuse me.
All right, brother. I stopped your time at 2 minutes, 27 seconds. Do you want to elaborate on anything?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Time restarts at 2 minutes, 27 seconds.
Okay, here I come. Here I come, brother. So one thing that this guy has to account for is the evolution of haplogroups. What he does not understand, that haplogroup A, haplogroup B, absolutely goes back to over 200,000 years ago. And for him to end up at E, which he's trying to say that, or I guess the Hamites or all the Negroid race is supposed to be at, brother, that's a stretch. You don't even understand admixture and how we even got to this point. So when you want to talk genetics and slap haplogroups on mythological questions, I'm going to stand up today, brother, and I'm going to put your ass in check. And you thank you. Listen, I'm going to tell you this. Matter of fact, you're welcome. You're welcome. You should say thank you for this free education. Get with me after this debate.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
All right, time has stopped at 1 minute, 13 seconds. I am going to reset the clock for 10 minutes because now we are at everyone's favorite part of the show. It is the chin check session. This is where each of our participants will ask their opponent as many questions as they can for 10 minutes straight. That's a 10-minute time frame where one person is being interrogated relentlessly. Now, they can answer the question, they can duck around, they can try to stall all they want to. If it gets stagnant, as the moderator, I will step in, but the person asking the question must control their time. They do have the option to have 3 timeouts. Once those 3 timeouts are gone, their time will continue to elapse. Keep that in mind. It is your time. I will stop the time and get things back going if it gets too stagnant, erratic, contentious, etc. So Bosco started out the round session. That means Haru Consciousness will start out the Q&A, aka the chin check session.
Okay,
Haru
so
Consciousness, the
hey,
time will start when you start asking questions, bro.
hey, let me ask you this, so real quick, DMG. So we got 5 minutes.
You got 10 minutes to ask him as many questions as you can. If you feel like he's not answering, you can say you're going to the next question. You can demand that he answer, etc. And keep in mind, he gonna answer the way he answered. You could press him on it, or you can move on. You know how it works.
I got you as bully ball. Let's go.
All right, time starts when you start asking questions.
All right, let's go. Hey, so Bosco Hoover, what lab tested the DNA of Shem, Ham, and Japheth?
I never suggested that it had been a sample.
But you was assigning haplogroups to them, right? Okay, that's cool. Do you understand that haplogroups are based on mutations in Y DNA and MTA?
Yes.
That are measurable in living ancient remains, not maybe necessarily characters from religious allegory.
Well, actually, it's not from ancient remains. It's from, if I read it correctly, it's from extant. How did they say it? It's pretty much based on their findings now, and they go back. It's not that they found the remains of someone and they said, "Oh, this is no." They're starting from this point and going back. That's the way I read it.
Okay, that's fair. So let me control my time though, because can you show me a peer-reviewed genetic study that traces haplogroup E1B1A or J1 or R1B to the sons of Noah by name?
I didn't. That wasn't my premise. That wasn't my position. I just showed the connection. I just showed the links. That's all.
But yet, you try to connect the dots like Pee Wee Herman's. Connect the dots, right? So how can you account for 10,000 plus years of population mixing, migrations, gene flow between ancient people, and even groups before the Bible was even written?
That wouldn't have anything again to do with my argument.
Oh, really? So if Ham's descendants was supposedly to be African, why does haplogroup E1B1A, common in West Africa, not appear in ancient Egyptian mummies consistently? But yet instead, we see more North African and Eurasian clades.
Right. I think if you would have paid attention to my presentation, you would have the answer yourself.
Is that your final answer, man?
Well, you need me to explain it to you again?
I mean, is that really your final answer?
Well, I can explain it again if you want me to.
Bosco, do you realize that if Ham, Shem, and Japheth are Noah's sons, then they would all share the same Y DNA chromosome marker, right?
Explain what you mean when you say that.
Because it like you say, you are what your father are, right? So if Ham, Shem, and Japheth, they Y chromosome would be the same. It wouldn't be 3 different genetic markers.
So, okay.
Okay, so watch this. I'm gonna prove that you don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
When you're dealing with single,
you're supposed to be asking questions, sir.
I am.
You're not. You're debating.
Brother,
questions.
Hey, brother, stop my time. Brother, stop my time. Listen, we're gonna get one thing clear,
Time
bro.
is
You don't,
stopped.
yeah, you don't get to dictate my time. I get to answer the
I'm
ask the
not
questions,
dictating anything, sir.
and I
The
can respond
DMV
how I
already
want. This is
explained
my
what we're
time.
supposed to be doing during
This
this
is
time.
my time.
It's not your time to be debating. It's your time to ask questions.
I am asking
Okay,
questions.
real quick. Let me go back over this. It is the person asking the questions time. So they manage their time however they see fit. Bosco will have the same luxury of managing his time how he see fits as Haru Consciousness does. Haru Consciousness, let me know when you want to continue. It is the Q&A, which means ask the question gets answered, elaborate however you see fit, but keep in mind the clock is ticking.
Yes, sir. And so I want to get back to this because there's a lot of things that he's ducking and dodging here, as y'all see, folks. So again, Bosco, and what laboratory did they actually extract the DNA of Ham, Shem, and Japheth, or even know of?
I never made that argument.
But you are. What you're doing, you're actually using the Bible to the biblical narrative to start your premise. So again, what you're doing is putting out you're starting at a mythological premise and trying to end with a scientific conclusion. Cool. Okay. So again, if I do remember where this initial debate started from. I asked you how you found came to the grand conclusion that you were a Hebrew Israelite, and this is what you gave me. So at the end of the day, knowing that you are scientifically wrong, which I've proven with sources today, anybody could look these up. It's a paper trail, brother. You are wrong. How are you a Hebrew Israelite? Are you just by faith now at this point, and you're gonna leave it alone with as far as the blood, or what?
No, I base it on the connections that I made.
Okay, so imaginary connections is what you're gonna go by, even though despite the fact haplogroups have evolved over tens of thousands of years, long before your narrative even existed. You're gonna still go with that, right?
Well, you're talking about timeline as if you make the assumption that I agree with the timelines given. You know,
Well, you mean
that
timelines given?
that
What do
is.
you mean timelines given?
Well, I mean, you're
So
saying that I have to agree that with the biblical narrative that it happened. I think you said 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. I may
well,
not. I may not.
that's what your biblical scholars say.
But
That's not what I say.
right.
So if your beef is with that, then you need to challenge them, not me.
I'm
But
not
at the end of
talking.
the day, hold on. Listen, at the end of the day, I promise you can bring this argument to any scientific table that's credible, and you're going to get laughed out the stadium. Because this is ridiculous. You are assigning haplogroups to mythological characters in the story, and you have no basis for it. None. This is why you tried to deflect from it in the first place. You said we're not going to use that. No. Why not? Why not use it? If you have to look at the flood narrative to even corroborate with your story. Do you understand that? That's my question. Do you understand that?
No. As far as what I just presented, I don't need that to be true at all.
Bosco, I'm putting belt to ass right now. You
Okay.
need Noah and his family to be real people for your narrative to actually hold any weight. You have not presented that. You have not presented any archaeological evidence. No, nothing. So my next question to you is, what makes you think you got a dog in this fight against me, bruh?
To be honest, I already won, in my opinion, sir. I mean, I don't. You may have to go back. You may have to go back and listen to it yourself. You contradict yourself plenty of times.
Okay.
At times you're just, I don't know what you're saying things that make absolutely no sense. At the same
Okay.
time, saying something absolutely different from what you just said.
Well,
But
that's your
all over
opinion
the
because
place,
you're
bro. To be
debating me.
honest with you.
That this is my time. That's your opinion because you're debating me. So
Back
hold
to your
on.
question.
What empirical evidence have you brought today to show that these were real people and that you can base haplogroups off of them?
Well, what I said at the beginning of this, I said today what I'm going to do is use the name of nations, locations, mapping, science, including some outdated scientific terms to show a connection or link between.
You just killed them.
That's what I
You
did.
don't realize that, right?
That's what I did.
So hold on. Let me regroup my time right quick, brother. You said enough. You just killed yourself. You use outdated information, right? And I'm telling you up-to-date terms. Listen, your model that you're using has been beat the fuck to shame by genetics. Human beings are 99.9% the same genetically. I don't know what part you don't understand about that. So you want to tell me about this 3 races again?
Is that a question?
Yeah, I asked you. Can you tell me about these 3 races again? Because
Well,
genetics is not
my
genetic.
premise is not based on the races being valid or anything. That's not my premise. That's not the argument. I was just showing the connection. And like I said, if
Oh,
you
the
take the map,
connection. You showing the connection by outdated uh 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 colonial people, right? You love your slave master, yeah. You say you're against them. So watch this, brother. The next time you challenge somebody to a debate, I need you to think real hard about what you trying to preach, because right now you just regurgitating white supremacy and you just got slapped upside your head with science. There is no way that the 3 races of men, which is pseudoscience, can account for the diversity of the human population today in the world. Not in 4,000 years, not even in 10,000 years. So you need to stop playing around with this thing, get real serious, and start studying. Got one more final question for you, brother. What do you intend to do with what you learned today? I left you plenty of sources. What do you intend to do with what you learned today?
That is time. That is time.
Heru is a killer.
Hey, man, listen. The chin check session, family. This is why we call it the best part of the Versus series and these YouTube debate streets in general. Time is reset for 10 minutes. Bosco, it is on you. It is your turn to chin check Heru consciousness. Time will start when you start asking questions, brother.
hey Rue, you said that if Noah was the father of the 3 sons, their DNA should remain unchanged. Is that right?
I said that they will share the same Y haplogroup. These are immediate sons of Noah.
So they would have the same. Why is that? Why would they have the same Y DNA?
Well, because it comes from the father. It doesn't come from the mother. This is Y DNA. We're
Okay.
not talking about mitochondrial DNA.
Okay. So why don't we have only one Y DNA then?
Well, either let me tell you something, and this might upset you, brother. Maybe she was a whore.
No, sir. That's not what I'm asking you. You're saying
Because it's possible she can carry 2, seeds from 2 different people. But other than that, she carries seed from Noah.
Hey, Rue, that's not my
And so those boys.
Hold on, hey, Rue. That's not my question. You said the
Okay.
Y DNA should remain unchanged. I'm saying if we look back, we have A, we have B, we have C, D, E, F. It has changed over time. Why don't we only have Y DNA haplogroup A?
because of you're dealing with admixture. You're looking at divergence. You're looking at a whole lot of things, brother.
So
See,
it
hold
does.
on.
So it does.
Go ahead. Say that again.
So the Y DNA does change.
Sure.
Okay, that was it. That's all I wanted to say right there. Let me see. I had some more stuff for you. Where am I at? I got
But
some.
the data doesn't.
Written
The
down.
data
Hold
doesn't
on,
support your argument.
hold on.
You're scientifically illiterate, bro.
You said I'm scientifically illiterate.
You are on this one.
So
you are. You're cooked. You are cooked.
Bro, do you not understand what you just said? Like you don't even understand, and even in that instance that you're contradicting yourself, you don't.
Bro, you are cooked. Ask your question, bro. Why you let me dictate your round? This is now you're appealing to emotion. You don't even want to win.
I don't want to win. I mean, you really didn't say anything that I think that I would have to question. I mean, a lot of the things you said, you said that, 3 people couldn't be responsible for all the life that we have today. Let me ask you this.
Diversity.
Okay. How many people would you need?
How many people would I need?
Yeah, how many people would you need to get the diversity that you have today?
Well, let me say this to you, brother. It most certainly wouldn't be 8 people.
How do you know that?
Listen, that bottleneck is just impossible.
You said that there was no bottleneck.
What do you mean? I said it was no bottleneck.
You said there was no bottleneck.
There was no bottleneck, not in the way that you made it. And exactly. Listen, bro, there was no bottleneck. I was just saying. I was just thinking.
It's my time. Listen, hold on. It's my time.
I was thinking your train of thought as hypothetical.
Hold on, bro. So you said there was no bottleneck.
I was gonna play your game with you. Now you don't want me to play the game with
you? What do you mean play the game, bro? Like you playing the game. I'm asking questions.
I'm just saying. So we gonna bottleneck. We gonna bottleneck.
I stopped the time. Let's get back on track. Ask and answer. Time is restarting at 6:14.
Yes, sir.
Is there a possibility of a bottleneck, Hebrew?
No,
there isn't. Scientists don't have a bottleneck theory.
They do have a bottleneck theory, but it doesn't fit your narrative.
I don't feel like dealing with him, bro. I don't feel like it. All these questions, I ain't finna do that shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't do that. You're not answering no questions. You going back and forth, flippy.
I didn't answer no question.
And all that shit. I ain't no motherfucker finna play no games with you. I ain't even like.
Okay. Real quick. So Bosco, you got 5 minutes and 44 seconds left. Are you?
I don't have nothing else to say.
Are you saying?
Yeah, I'm done.
Can I take his time?
Sure.
I got some more questions.
No.
We ain't gonna die today, Bosco.
we ain't gonna do that. The brother said he done with that section, the chin check session. Listen, that is why we call it the chin check.
That's session. Right. Nigga, I hit hard.
So that being said, there's nothing left to do, family, except go to our 3-minute closeout. But before we do, let me tell you what we got going on. So tomorrow, 7:15 Central Standard Time, myself and the ever Jersey changing one himself, the closeted one, Classic Craig, will be doing a Versus Series Aftermath show to recap everything that took place this weekend. We're going to get into how the good Dr. Too Sweet, our reigning defending social media champion, stomped a 50-foot deep mud hole in our sister Neftali. We're going to get into who won between two spectacular brothers, the returning Bible breaker A1 and the biblical barbarian Hemi. We'll have those results for you. And if our judges get to it on time, we will have the results for this powerful contest as well. So, packed weekend for the Versus Series. We're going to bring it all to you. And again, that'll be with me and the closeted ever jersey changing one, Classic Craig. Also, tomorrow, probably around 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, you're going to have a Black existentialist review of the Ryan Coogler film Sinner, starring Michael B. Jordan, by yours truly. Y'all come and check that out as well. Powerful film. If you haven't went to see it, please go see it. Ryan Coogler is a generational talent who we need to support. That being said, all right, we had our brother Bosco kick this thing off. We have Haru Consciousness kick off the chin check session. We're going to take it back to Bosco for the 3-minute closeout. Time will start when you start, my brother.
All right. I want to apologize to the viewers for opponents. I think I had greater expectations of him, and to be honest, I even with my second round, I had actually wrote that prior to the debate because his angles were predictable, and like I said, he put style over substance. He argued from fallacy. Again, the assumption that if a particular argument for a conclusion is fallacious, then the conclusion by itself is false. So on both ends, when we're talking about the races of man and the three sons, even if that is fallacious, the conclusion that I made is still true. The statement is still true. Again, that was like I said, the three sons of Noah, like I said with Ham, you can reach the conclusion that the descendants, as recorded, based on the mapping, will be classified as Caucasoid and belong to haplogroup E1B1B. And then from there, I just built on that as far as the Mongoloid being haplogroup D, and the Negroid being haplogroup E1B1A. I don't think that my opponent paid much attention to that. But you can look at it, like I said, I think it's a perfect picture that I painted for you to look at. It's not necessarily saying that either are true. It's just showing that it's a connection, whether it was by accident or by design. It is still a true statement. That's all I got.
All right, my brother, you do have 1 minute, 12 seconds left if you wanted to elaborate on anything else.
No, I'm straight, bro.
All right, we're going to reset the clock for 3 minutes. Haru Consciousness. It's a 3-minute closeout. Time will start when you start.
All right, once again, man, peace to the family. Peace to you, brother DMG, man. Listen, man, you put together a good platform. You and the Craigs, I appreciate exactly what y'all doing. This is like the real deal of boxing, man, for real. This is where we show competitorship, decorum. We show what we study for. See, what I want to do is win for Black people. I'm tired of us getting laughed at for pseudoscience. And what today my opponent brought to us was pseudoscience that got chin checked right where it stood. And at the end of the day, I want to make no mistake. I duck no debates. I duck and run from nothing. My life got hectic. It got crazy. But today, I showed up and showed out, and I just put belt to ass on this belt, on this debate. My bad. So at the end of the day, family, I wanna appreciate all of y'all that came out to support this debate, both me and my opponent. My opponent, he deserves the greatest he deserves the greatest respect, just like I did, because we got the courage to come out here and actually debate. You don't have no idea how many people talk nonsense and they won't debate. So at the end of the day, I appreciate this platform. I think it's better than Sarnetta. I think it's better than the Lions Den. I'm tired of the whiners and complainers. We grown men out here, and we about to separate facts from somebody's feelings.
And there you have it. You got a minute, 8 seconds left, brother, if you wanted to elaborate on anything else.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So at the end of the day, I have shown scientifically where his story is in error. I have shown geologically where his story is in error. I have shown linguistically actually where his story is in error. The sciences don't add up with his narrative that he just tried to paint for y'all. This is something that he's just trying to do. He's cherry picking to make his narrative more appealing. At the end of the day, it's not based on facts. It's based on his beliefs, and so he might as well be the next Tyrone and what they call the Rockadooshies. That's not an ad hominem attack. I'm just saying you might as well just start your own cult because your foundation is not based on facts. It's based on what you assign to yourself. You're not the most. You're not the highest. You're just Tyrone, my nigga. Peace.
And that is time. That is time. And I just put the link in the chat. Family, you can come up, give your opinion on the debate. You can ask each of these brothers one question apiece. One question. That means you're going to ask the question. They are going to respond to the question, and then you will exit. There will not be a second debate. Again, this is the Versus series. Just like in boxing, just like in the UFC, you get two competitors in the ring, each leaves with the purse for the night. I'm only paying these brothers for one debate. So when you come up here, I'm not paying them to debate you. If you want to debate them, you got to pay them. So hit that link, ask your question, and then we'll see you the next time. Link is in the chat. While I still have y'all attention, let me tell y'all, listen, when you leave out of here, go support my brother Super Wavy. I think he putting on a good show tonight. He and I are going to start coordinating so we're not overlapping so much. Support my brother Super Wavy. Subscribe to his channel. Support the Boy Reloaded. Subscribe to that sister channel. And speaking of a sister, let's talk about the sisters. It was postponed tonight. But next week, the Goji Warriors of Paradigm Shift will be back. And y'all know I'm speaking to none other than I ain't gonna even say it. I'm gonna let y'all see for yourself. So real quick, pause for commercial break, and then we're gonna get to the one and only Cedric Ortega has hit the panel. But let me give you this commercial. These ladies took a break tonight because it's Easter, but they will be back next week. Shout out to the reigning, defending, undefeated, distinguished world champion Pandemus for that powerful promo. Cedric Ortega, my main man, the reigning, defending Lions Den champion. What did you think of this debate, my good brother?
I'm sorry for the fireworks in the background, but they come in perfectly as to what I think about the debate. Pure fire. It was an interesting debate. I love how my brother here will put it down. Of course, I'm always standing with the side of science and empirical understanding of reality. My question is for Bosco. I'm gonna ask quickly because the fireworks going off. Bosco, if you fundamentally and you answered the question that you did not understand how the Y chromosome work, how can you debate using haplogroups if you fundamentally don't understand how Y?
I don't know if I necessarily said I don't understand how Y-DNA haplogroups work. I think I might have insinuated that I don't know how it works. I'm not necessarily. I think the confusion is people think that I'm just assigning people to a haplogroup. I'm not. Like I said, what I'm doing is just showing the connection. So, like I said, if you look at the mapping that I showed, and you see where they listed people as they classify people as Caucasoid, that would be the Indo-Europeans, which are Canaanites. Even as he mentioned, the Hittites, Canaanites, the Egyptians, the Libyans, the Ethiopians, and other people of Somalia and places like that were all classified as Caucasoid. And then if you look at the genetic mapping that I showed, they all of those same people belong to haplogroup E1B1B. That's my argument. So I was just showing the connection. It's not saying necessarily, well, hey, yeah, this particular DNA belongs to this. I'm not saying. I'm just showing the connection, and it's undeniable. You can't deny the connection because you can see it on the map. I showed it on the map. You know what I mean?
So quickly, just one follow up question. Do you have children of your own?
Yeah, got 23 of them.
And your offspring, are they each representing a different nation?
Well,
Is one Chinese? Is one Japanese? Is one Italian? Is one French? Are they all African American
that
just like you?
that's not what I insinuated. But what he insinuated, saying that they have the same Y DNA, unchanged from the father, that's not true at all. That's not.
What?
Yeah, you don't have your DNA is not exact replica of your.
Okay.
It's not an exact. If that was the case and they couldn't tell, like when they do DNA, you know what I mean? Like say for instance, somebody committed a crime and they go get the DNA, they couldn't distinguish who was who because they would say, okay, this all belongs to this one person. Which one of them is it? We don't know because all of the DNA is matching. We have no clue who it is. They couldn't even. You wouldn't even have to have a paternity test. You know what I mean? You couldn't have a paternity test because then how are you going to know if it's the father, the brother, or the other brother, or the other brother? So now you got people out here paying for kids that may not be theirs. It's somebody else. The argument is ridiculous. You can look it up and find it yourself. You know what I mean? So that
Thank
argument
you,
that
Bosco.
he made.
I appreciate
Okay,
you.
but how? Okay, never mind.
Hold hold up. All right, Cedric, I appreciate you, bro. You ain't got to go nowhere, but we gonna go to Sage so she can get hers in.
Okay, but Bosco,
Mhm,
if Noah is the father of these three individuals and they are his sons,
mhm.
how would they have distinctly different Y chromosome haplogroups?
There's from what I when I was researching it, it says there's something the S&P or something like that is called a single something polymorphism or something like that it's called.
He's talking
So,
the single nucleotide polymorphism,
yeah, yeah,
and
that's
you don't understand science, brother. I'm going to
Haru,
teach you
Haru,
tonight.
well,
Haru, let
I'm sorry.
Bosco finish answer.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
but I mean, even if you look at it, it says that if you look up the haplogroup that I'm talking about, DE, it shows you the ancestor. It's on there. I mean, it happened when you have A branches off. You have A00, A01, and all of those are actually his descendants. And then they say you have BT. which is another descendant, but they had a different type of S&P. It was different from the others, and so you had BT. So it happens. You know what I mean? You don't. Yeah. So yeah. But
I'm out of respect for DMG's channel. I'm not gonna debate and go back and forth with you. I'm just gonna say all right. Now my next question now my next question is for Hey Rue. How does it feel to be back? Like back doing this like in the game? Because you had like a few hiccups and stuff and like some, scheduled and like canceled things, but like how does it feel to be, you know, back in the business?
You know what, sis, man?
Mhm.
It's just like it's just like riding a bike. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you never forget where you come from. I remember when I used to stand in the ciphers, and the brothers used to tear my information apart, but they would build me
Mhm.
up. It's
Right.
nothing like social media today. These guys put each other apart, and they never build each other up. But that's what I
Mhm.
want to build with my brother today. I want to build him up in the knowledge. So at the end of the day,
Right.
to answer your question, it feels great to be back. I look forward to.
I know that's right, friend.
I feel good to be back. I just want to share light with my people. That's it.
Mm. Respect, respect.
All right, all right. The Bible breaker. And I gotta say salute to Haru Consciousness for being back in the game. And I gotta say salute to this brother for being back in the Versus series. Bible breaker, who you got a question for or a comment?
I got a question for Bosco. How do we find continuous archaeological records of human habitation without interruption through regions like China, Africa, that predate the span of the time of the biblical flood?
again, this when my opponent mentioned that, I mentioned that it was a red herring. The fact that he introduced it had nothing at all to do with my argument. And I'll give you an example. If I said, and I think this is, Batman, Gotham City, DC Comics, and I don't know who the writer is. But if I said that they were all connected, even if Batman is fictional and Gotham City is fictional, you can say, yeah, there's a connection. You know what I mean? So mentioning the Noah's flood had no bearing on the argument itself at all. And to another point, I would ask if scientists can be wrong. Is it true that scientists can be wrong? It is. Right?
Okay. And Haru, I don't have a question for Haru.
All right, all right. I'm gonna bring it back over to Cedric. Cedric, did you have another follow-up question for either of the brothers?
Yeah, first of all, great job, Heru. Bosco, it seems like you're being picked on, but the reason why you're being questioned is because we're trying to make sense out of your argument, quite honestly. You just made reference to a comic book and making links within the narrative itself. Now we can make all the connections within that link, but from the moment you try to connect Bruce Wayne's DNA to the Rockefellers, then it becomes a problem. You understand why that analogy falls apart?
Yeah, but
Because
I think
because
the problem is that you're focusing on the mention of the DNA. I'm only showing the connections. I'm showing the
so
fact. Go ahead.
So that is what we're trying to understand. You keep making this claim to a connection. However, from the moment you try to make that connection to reality, we're going to examine that based on the tools that we have, and it doesn't add up. For example, your analysis of evolving a Y DNA haplogroup by means of SMPs. This is in populations, and that is why you're being questioned as to the time frame of the existence of the Chinese and their whole civilization, and it all predates this narrative. That is illustrative of you not understanding exactly how this works. Now, my direct offspring will have an exact copy of my Y DNA. How you would distinguish one from the next is because of the combination of both mother and father is what distinguishes each individual from the other. My X chromosome will be different than that of my offspring because their X chromosome will be 50% of their mother, distinguishing them from me by means of that. That's how you determine that they're my offspring, because they do not share my X chromosome.
So, sir, if what you're saying, it makes sense on the surface. But like I asked Heru, if that was the case, right now there is YMRCA. That's the I think the term for uh, the most recent common ancestor, right? A YMRCA. He's the most recent common ancestor. All living, all living males can be traced back to that one ancestor. All of us can. But along that line, you have, yeah. So I mean, that's what I was saying. Like, if it was going to be the same, why wouldn't it be the same from him? Why had it only his is the only lineage that we have, and everyone else is all from him. So how when you're saying that it doesn't change, how is there not a change?
Because it's not from father to son, it is in populations, and this happens over generations that you see these development, these changes. It is not from one to the next. These changes happen in populations.
Sir, that's not true. That's
My
not
one,
Real quick, real quick. A1, do you have anything else for Haru Consciousness or Bosco?
yeah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say good job, fellas. Good job tonight.
I'd like to
Haru,
respond if I can.
making them tap out. You know what I'm saying? I heard right after his first question in his voice that he was about to yield his time. And then he did. So, but good job tonight, man. Y'all put on a hell of a show. Appreciate y'all.
All right. Haru, who said they wanted to respond?
This me Haru, brother.
Okay, go ahead, bro. And then we gonna get final words from whoever left on the panel really quickly, and then we're gonna get on up out of here.
Yes, sir. And thank you, gracious brother, man. DMG, man, I really appreciate you on my platform. Let me on your platform. I really appreciate my opponent tonight, but I want to land this plane with one thing, okay? See, this is what we got to understand, y'all. Bosco's whole entire argument is mythological. It's a mythological house of cards. It's built on invisible bricks. Mythological figures like Ham, Shem, Japheth, Noah. This is all fabricated architecture. This is pseudoscience. Racial categories. No foundation. Zero archaeological, geological, or genetic evidence. There was no global flood. There was no real Noah. There is no real suns to repopulate the earth. There is no ability to assign haplogroups to mythological names. I'm going to land my plane right here. Watch this. His entire framework collapses, y'all. If the general public doesn't see this, I don't know what it would take. He's not representing history or science. He's actually offering allegory with a modern racial agenda disguised as scholarship. Brother, listen, brother. You have been exposed today. Don't play with me again.
That's brutal.
I'm on my plane.
All right. So look, A1. Let everybody know what you got going on and who you. If there's anybody in particular you looking to have some smoke with in the Versus series next, and confirm that I'm a man of my word when it comes to me doing what I say I'm gonna do, and try to do it as quickly as you can, because we're gonna get to Cedric and then we're gonna get to the two brothers at hand.
Definitely. Anybody who wants to come defend any of these Abrahamic faiths, whether you think you a Hebrew Israelite and see yourself in the Bible, if you a Christian, if you a Muslim and you using these Abrahamic faiths and trying to use these prophecies to say that Allah is real and Gabriel told some man, illiterate man, to write down a book. You know what I'm saying? I want the smoke. You know what I'm saying? And DMG is a man of his word. I got that Cash App this morning. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you. So yeah, you know, holla at me.
Shout out. Hey, the Bible Breaker is back. The Versus series is live in 2025. We want the smoke and he want the smoke. So y'all come get this work. My brother Cedric, the reigning, defending, undisputed Lions Den champion. Same thing, brother. What you got?
As you all may know, I'm working on a 5-part series over at Pseudo Killers. I already finished the first 2 episodes. The first one was inspired by Eric Graham and our good brother Pandemus, the assassin over here, which was Victor Stenger's the failed God, the failed hypothesis. Then I did the concept of spirits. It's a 3-part